Thank you for joining us today. We are talking about an interesting sermon. If you looked in your bulletin, you would have seen a word that you might not recognize, but it's a word that's used a lot, whether by actuality or whether by what you do. Today's sermon is called Filare. How many people know what Filare means? I thought so. Filare is an interesting word because it's a Latin variation. Pro means forward. Filare means to spin. Filum means to thread or string. Now, if you're wondering what Filare could mean and how I can abbreviate or bring all these Latin words together in definitions, it means profile.
Oh.
We use profiles a lot, don't we?
Yeah.
I'm on a dating site, so I have a profile. I'm on Facebook, I have a profile. I have credit, I have a profile. Now in those variations, and they, what is it, Twitter and Tumblr. Thankfully I'm not on those. What we have with those is either our threading or stringing what we'd like the world to see us as. And it's usually for our acceptance. Not for our acceptance, for us to be accepted from others. On a dating site, you thread or you string a profile to attract a mate. And it seems a lot of people thread and string things that are not actuality. You know, say somebody who doesn't like to do a lot in their life can say, I take great adventures. That defined means I like to read. Or they can say, I'm very involved in my community. That means I like to shop. See, it isn't hard to thread or string what it is you want to see. But there is a profile that is truthful. And that is your credit report. In that profile, it is a lot of people or companies or business interactions you have had reporting to somebody who's unbiased. They don't want to make you look good, and they don't care if you look bad. That's what unbiased means. But in this profile, and with these companies reporting to them, they have the actuality of what you've done with your business with them. And the amazing thing about this profile is it is on there for 7 to 10 years, depending on what it is. If you claim bankruptcy, it's on there for 10 years. If you've done badly with your business as far as missing payments, those type of things, it's on there for 7 years. And equally, thankfully, if you've done well, it's on there for 7 years. But you notice the more negative it is, the longer it's on there. Not the other way around. If you've made your payments monthly, if you've paid your balance off early, if you've honored your word, we just get rid of that real quick. We live in a society that profiles us. And we have the ability to decide if we're going to be honest or if we're going to thread or string. So as I mentioned, the credit report, there are some variations, unfortunately, with that credit report that you can't explain. Let's say for 5 years you paid your credit, you did great, and you've got a score. It's almost like a grade in school, if you will. A 400's like a D, 500's like a C. No, I missed one. 400's like an F. 500's like a D, 600's like a C, 700's like a B, and 800's you're really great. We want to make you our leader because it's very hard to get. You've got to have money to be able to have a 800 score for the most part, or you got to work very diligently to secure that credit rating. But you pay your bills for 5 years, you've done great, and then all of a sudden you get in an accident. You can't work for a while. You're out having fun and you break a limb. You can't work for a while. Your children get sick, and you have to take time off work to care for them. And you're not able to pay your bills. Do you know, in that credit rating, positivity has less effect than negativity? Meaning, in my credit rating, I was playing around with this thing called credit calculation. And if I pay my balances and pay my credit off within 2 years, my credit score goes up 2 points. Recently, I was blessed to be able to acquire a truck, and because there was 2 inquiries in my credit, my credit score went down 8 points in 1 day. How is it somebody looking at my credit can bring me down 8 points? Getting approved. So you got your 5 years, you're paying your bills, you got a great credit, but then something of life happens, and all of a sudden, all that great things you did just went down the drain. We have profiles, people. We have profiles we can control and decide if we're going to be honest. On this dating site I mentioned, I haven't said about some of the profiles I've come across. It'd be interesting if somebody put on there saying, you know what, there's nothing special about me, I'm just a human being who wants to be loved. If I came across that, I would actually email them and say, good for you. You probably got one of the most honest profiles on here. So why don't people deal with honesty? Well, because we want to spin it to get someone to be interested in us. What I really love is the people who put the profiles that I don't know what to say about myself. I don't like talking about myself. I don't like trying to fit my life in a box. There is a profile that really surprised me, and some people I know. It had 44 rules. 44 rules on what this person was expecting in a relationship. And ironically, I interacted with that person. And she is nothing like her rules. She's the complete opposite. So I'm trying to figure out, how do you have 44 rules of all this, but then you go and do the complete opposite? That's what we're going to talk about first when it comes to profiles. 1 Peter chapter 1, please. We have different ways that we can establish our profiles. There is our ways. There's our choices. And then there's those who keep tabs on us. If I was younger and I had pictures of me drinking and hanging out with my friends and going and doing activities that typical guys do, what do you think my profile would be? From if somebody's seen my pictures.
Party.
Partier. Thank you. I'm a fun guy. But if I had pictures of me at the pulpit, and pictures of me volunteering, and pictures of me doing those other types of things, I might not be so received. Now I get to choose. Do I want to be me as I should be, or do I want to be the way the world wants me to be? First Peter chapter 1 verse 13 says, wherefore gird up the loins of your mind, be sober, and hope to the end for the grace that is to be brought to you at the revelation of Jesus Christ. As obedient children, not fashioning yourselves according to the former lust in your ignorance, but as he which has called you is holy, so be you holy in all manner of conversation. Now, my Bible does this a lot, and I always argue with my Bible. Not the Bible portion, but the ones who put my Bible together. They have underlined conversation to say behavior. I particularly like the word conversation more. Because of all the things we do the most, our conversation is the least we care about. Ergo, I go to church on Sundays, yet I gossip about the people in my church. I sing about songs about wanting to tell the story of Jesus, but yet I don't mention him in my life when I'm in my daily routine, if you will. Or I go to church activities, but I only hang out with these kind of people over here because those people aren't my type. How is it in the holy temple of God, where everybody should be a member of Christ's body, segregates themselves and says, this one's not good enough, but this one's great. This one smells, this one's pretty. Because you're bringing about a conduct that is unbecoming to Christ. And that profile is what He sees. So we want to be like Facebook. We want to have the pictures of how cool we are. And we want to get likes after likes after likes. I was deeply saddened one day when I was on Facebook, and I came across this post from a Christian page. It says, "We are the best Christian page on there, on Facebook." And it was great to see that they had over 1 million likes for their page. But I'm sorry. If you're a Christian page on Facebook, a better way to have expressed that was, give God the glory, we are blessed to have so many people to reach. So many people to support us. Not, we're the best Christian page on Facebook. See, I can make a profile. I can make a page. I can make whatever I want to serve my purpose. But when you look at 13, 14, 15, this is giving you an establishment of your accountability, of what profile you are broadcasting to yourself, to the world, and more importantly to Christ. So if you're not doing as this has expressed so far, and especially, so be you holy in all manner of conversation, and that where my Bible says behavior, then your profile is askew, is not accurate. You are representing yourself something you're not, and dangerously so. Where he says in 15, "But as He which has called you is holy, so be you in all manner of conversation." So be you holy in all manner of conversation. Forgive me. Why does he put that in 15? Because it reminds us again, you're not the one to decide what is holy. But you are the one that's going to have to explain. Just like your credit report. If I had something in my credit report that I dispute, I have to notify the credit agency. I have to give them some kind of manner of explanation why I dispute it, and then I have to wait for their approval to say, yay, we agree, or nay, this is going to be on here. I have to go through that accountability to clear my name. 16. Because it is written, be you holy, for I am holy. 16 is a really long verse, isn't it?
Yes.
Thank you. With it being so long, we might be confused. With it being so challenging, we might interpret it wrong. Because it is written is very structured in the authority of Christ, in the authorship of God. Why? Because it says, because it is written, thank you, means you didn't write it. You cannot change it. And this will be your bar. What will be? Be you holy, for I am holy. That is on conduct that we are supposed to go about our everyday. That is on conduct on how we are supposed to go about our relationships. On some of these profiles of the dating site I've read, they've talked about, I'm not a hookup, I'm not looking for sex buddies, I don't want to see your parts. Naked pictures, put a shirt on please, don't email me, I'm not that type of person. Which I can understand, and it's great if it's true. But to be honest, ladies, if I was a woman on a dating site and I seen that on a regular basis, you know what I would do? Get off the dating site. Try another dating site. I would take actions to remove that from my life. But just like we've talked about conduct in 13, 14, and 15, where it says, wherefore in 13, gird up the loins of your mind, be sober, and hope to the end for the grace that is to be brought to you at the revelation of Jesus Christ. The revealing of Jesus Christ, that reminds us what it is we're living for. And that is His return. So in your conduct, in your everyday, in your profile, if you will, or profilare, does it demonstrate that you're looking for His return? That you're ready for Him to come back? Is that day greater than any other day you could imagine in your life? What is the be-all, end-all day for a woman?
Her wedding.
There we go. We had a couple people. That's my day. It's all about me day. Second would be the birth of their child or children. To see this new life that came from them into this world and all the wonderful things that come from it. If you took every day, my daughter is as excited as I am as well, that she's going to be turning 18 soon. If you took every day of every possible experience and you put that into like a cute little jar of excitement, Jesus' return should explode that. But if your life and your conduct isn't looking for His return, why? Because we're not girding up our loins of our mind. We're not being sober. We're not hoping to the end for the grace that is to be brought to us by His revealing. I'm not quoting the word or changing. Just like I said, if I was a woman on a dating site and all I kept getting is that kind of stuff, I would either remove myself or find another dating site. I would take action. But if I just continue in my ways, continue in the dating site, continue doing what I know isn't right, then how in the world am I holy? I see you shake your head. You're right, I'm not. Let's look at John chapter 15, please. I always love when I put the Bible on the podium and I see people's faces look at the tabs in my Bible to see how many different parts of the Bible we're going to go to. And I've always said, if I only have one, we're going to be here a while. John chapter 15. So we first talked about conduct. John chapter 15 verse 8 says, I'm waiting for you guys. Turn the page. 8 says, Herein is my Father glorified, that you bear much fruit. So shall ye be my disciples. 9 says, As the Father has loved me, so have I loved you, and continue you in my love. 10. If you keep my commandments, you shall abide in my love, even as I have kept my Father's commandments and abide in His love. 11. These things have I spoken to you, that my joy might remain in you, and that your joy might be full. 12. This is my commandment, that you love one another as I have loved you. There's a cute little thing on the dating site that says rate me. R-A-T-E, me. It's a little thing that you can do where you can look at men only, women only, or men and women, and you can see their pictures. And if their picture is as it should be, because they're on the top of the page, it's no nude pictures and no cartoons, and we want to keep this site clean or appropriate. Sorry. So you go through and you click through and you see pictures and you can tell them what the pictures are, if they should delete it or whatever. It's amazing that they would have their members go through their site to keep it appropriate instead of taking action themselves. Now granted, it's a free site, but do you think you might step up to the accountability of yourself? I go on there and I do that. Because a guy standing there with his penis hanging out isn't something that should be seen. Thankfully, it shouldn't be seen by me. I've got one of those, I'm good. We make our profile what we will. But just like on that dating site, it calls for its members to step up and say, what's appropriate? Is this appropriate? Let us know. We are called greatly which is to a greater scale than a dating site. Let me make sure I say that. By leaps and bounds greater calling. And that is by the one that we call Savior. That is the one that we say we believe died for our sins. That is the one that we say we want to be in our life. The amazing thing is that there's a lot of times, and I don't honestly know the statistics of it, but I'm guesstimating at least hundreds of people are getting married every day throughout the world. Which means that's hundreds of people who are saying I do to the same vow that everybody said before. In some variational form, but it's the same. It means I commit myself to you, you commit yourself to me, and we're going to do this for eternity. Now, I'm not a really great judge of scale of time. But eternity doesn't last long. It lasts 6 months. It lasts 2 years. It lasts 10 years, 20 years, 50 years. And then it's over. It isn't because the marriage failed them. It's because they failed their commitment. And I'm sure I'll piss people off with that comment, but I don't care. If you said, I'm going to do something, and you do the complete opposite, you lied. And you lie every day. If you said, I do want you in my life, Jesus, and I want to live for your glory, Jesus, and you do the complete opposite. When he says here in 12, this is my commandment, that you love one another as I have loved you. That is a great love. That is an undying, unconditional, unlimited love. Where he put everything on the line that you enjoy. And if you're not giving that in return, you're a liar. Don't like me, that's fine. Don't like what I'm saying, you've got a problem. Because I am not the author of this book. I am not the author of the dating site, but if I see a guy standing there showing his junk, I'm going to tell them it's inappropriate. You need to delete it. It's not because I'm a pastor. It's not because I'm better than other people. It's just wrong. I don't need society to confirm for me that it's wrong. I live by, it's wrong. When we should be embracing what he's saying here about the aspects of herein is my Father glorified. Glorified means honored. He's empowering you with this aspect of how his Father is honored. You can't come to him and go, be honored with what I'm doing. It just doesn't work. But if you come to him submissively and saying, this is how you told me to honor you, and I did it the best I could, he's honored. Your challenge, that was an honorment. To take on a fear, to take on an uncomfortableness, to change something about you, to glorify him. That's honorment. He says, herein is my Father glorified, that you bear much fruit. Well, I'm done. You've got to bear fruit. You've got to be about producing in your life. Works, actions. That sounds like a profile to me. But the interesting thing about that profile is you are threading together a tapestry of glory. You're not stringing something along and making it something it's not. If you do it in the right focus and holiness. So shall you be my disciples. I laugh. Because we think we do a lot of fruitful things for the glory of Christ. And we call ourselves disciples. Way too easy. Way too glorifyingly. When Jesus himself says, with this fruit, by bringing it about for the glory of God, not changing his word, what? You are my disciples. So shall you be my disciples. And the interesting about that phrase is there's something that we don't often value enough. When he says, so shall you be my disciples, it means you can't be anything else. Now, I can go on this dating site. It would seem weird, but bear with me. And I could say I'm a woman looking for a guy. Would I be accurate?
No.
No.
Why?
Because you're a guy.
I am?
I hope.
Because I have a deep voice, because I have an Adam's apple, because I have certain parts that women don't have. But because I go on there and I say I'm a woman looking for a guy, those poor guys, I can pull a picture off the internet and make me look hot. And those poor guys will believe me. But it doesn't make me that. I can't get away from who I am, no matter how hard I try. No matter how much I want to thread and string people along to believe whatever it is I want them to believe. Because with a profile, there is the accurate one, such as the credit report, and then there is the make-believe one, which is the Facebook and the dating sites and the other things that I'm not part of. But there's a profile for Christ. By your fruits, by your life, by your choices, by your devotion to Him, as He's saying here, so shall you be my disciples. That is a wonderful club to be a part of. But yet it's a club that no one wants to join. I can go in and talk about 8, 9, 10, and 11, but I'll spare you a little bit of that because I like to talk. And somebody recently said I could talk for 10 people. But I will talk about the words that are in these. Keep in 10 means obey. I don't like obey. Obey means that I have to. I'm doing it to stay out of trouble. Keep means I value, and that there's such a degree that I value it that nothing else can compare to it. That I cannot see me living any other way. Abide means live. Why does Christ talk a lot about abide? Because just like your profile, you can make it anything you want it to be, no matter how inaccurate it is. But there's going to come a time, if I talk to a guy saying I'm a girl looking for a guy, and we go to meet, do you think he's going to find out I'm a guy?
Yes.
And if I'm able to fool him with my wardrobe and the ways that I dress, and we decide to be in a relationship, somehow, and we decide to be intimate, do you think he's going to find out?
Yes.
So people, why in this world do we believe that somehow Christ isn't going to find out? You cannot believe in Christ. You cannot say He's your Savior. You cannot say these songs of worship on your Sundays that you love Him and then think He's not going to find out. You know what you are? You're a cheater. Just like a spouse, cheating on a spouse who continues it for days or weeks or years. They're not going to find out. There's no way they could possibly know. And then what happens?
They find out.
You're really spunky today, thank you. They find out. And then the cheater goes, you weren't supposed to find out. My life is ruined because you found out. Your life will be ruined if Christ finds out. Oh wait, He already has. Let's look at Corinthians. First Corinthians chapter 13. We've talked about conduct. We've talked about abiding. On my profile, on my dating site, I talk about what I'm looking for. I talk about who I am as a person. I talk about what matters to me. And I've been fortunate to hear some nice compliments. Your profile seems genuine. You seem like a good guy. The word is seem. Because there's going to come a time when I'm going to have to prove it. And if I meet a woman and I decide on the day that I meet her to abduct her, am I a nice guy?
No.
Am I genuine?
No.
No. Or if by chance I meet this woman and we have a connection and we decide to have a great relationship and we start it and we go about all the wonderfulness of a relationship and we get to a certain point and I start beating her. If I start mistreating her, if I start devaluing her, am I a nice guy?
No.
No. All I've been able to do is to conjure up this facade and continue it in a long of ways until it wasn't needed anymore. That's what abiding means. It means if you say it, you should be it. And if you be it, it should be known. 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 1. Though I speak with tongues of men and of angels, and have not charity, I am become as sounding brass or a tinkling cymbal. And though I have the gift of prophecy, which means understanding, and I'm actually going to embrace this word understanding, even though prophecy is ability to foreshadow type scenario. The gift of prophecy, and the gift of is italicized to stress the abidement, that it is a gift and it is a part of his life, that is not wasted. Do you think, give me a male actor that you ladies think is cute?
Channing Tatum.
We got approval over there. Alright.
Yeah.
So we got this hot guy called Channing Tatum, which is kind of a decent actor, except for 20-somethings, those Jump Street.
Yeah.
Bottom line, if he didn't go into acting, would his gift be wasted?
Yes.
Think of all the lives that would go without seeing that beautiful face. Think of all the dreams that would be void of his presence in it. He has a gift that he's done something with. Granted, it's more carnal that we're talking about at the moment, but the same, if not more focused manner, should be with the gift of what we're given by the spiritual gift that God gives us. Do something with it. And he's talking about that with that aspect. So he says, and though I have the gift of prophecy, and understand all mysteries, and all knowledge, and though I have all faith, so that I could remove mountains, and have not charity, I am nothing. These two verses have reestablished by God's grace this filare we're talking about today. I can make my profile be anything I want it to be. And I can say it's for holy reasons when it's just for my own for me to be accepted and approved by my fellow man. When the only approval that matters is Christ. Because he will be the reason why you get into heaven. Or he'll be the reason why you don't. Because he will look at you and he will say, your works are worthy of a reward. Or your works have condemned you for eternity. I'm not pointing out anybody. But it's just that simple. But because I'm worried about the acceptance of man and the approval of this world, I make my profile to be catchy, to be curtailed to their likings. And that's kind of what he's talking about here. But essentially, where he's saying, I don't have, if I have not charity, I am nothing, or I am as I am become as sounding brass or tinkling cymbal. Not quoting the verses, but referring to those focus. 3 says, and though I bestow all my goods to feed the poor, and though I give my body to be burned, and have not charity, it profits me nothing. Earlier in our offering, I said to you, whatever you put in the envelope is great. But if it's not with the right desire, if it's not with the right focus, you might as well just throw it out the window. Your worship and offering is not going to save you. Your putting it in the plate is not going to alleviate you. Your singing the songs of worship is not going to honor Christ any more than you think it will. It actually could be like, you got that person, you're in choir, so you can bear with me on this one. You got that person that's in choir and you're wondering, why are you here?
Yeah.
Your voice is so screechy to my ear, it wants to bleed. Y'all know, you've been there in a choir situation, it might be you. Bottom line, that could be you with Christ if your life is not abiding in Him. 4 says, charity suffers long and is kind. Charity envies not. Charity vaunteth not itself, is not puffed up. Vaunteth not itself means does not brag. Puffed means arrogant. 5 says, does not behave itself unseemly, seeks not her own, is not easily provoked, thinks no evil. 6, rejoices not in iniquity, but rejoices in the truth. My Bible says in is with, which I like. It's in a connectiveness with the truth, not the truth is what I want it to be. 7 says, bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. 8, charity never fails, but whether there be prophecies, they shall fail. Whether there be tongues, they shall cease. Whether there be knowledge, it shall vanish away. For we know not in part, and we prophesy. Forgive me. For we know in part, and we prophesy in part. Know in part means limited knowledge. But yet if you hear someone such as myself, you would think that I thought I have a lot of knowledge. Because of my life, because of my experiences, because of my knowledge of the Word of God, because of my faith, I have a lot of knowledge. My knowledge is this, compared to the knowledge of God. And I need to remember that every day. Because when my knowledge is this, and God's knowledge is this, I go a wrong way. Without even realizing it. 10 says, but when that which is perfect is come, then that which is in part shall be done away. If anybody needs me to explain that which is perfect, that means Christ. When Christ comes back. And for those who are like, oh, you were serious about that? Sees him and says that? They're going to realize how screwed they are. Just like that cheater. My life is ruined. 11 says, when I was a child, I spoke as a child. I understood as a child. I thought as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things. That verse should be on every church sanctuary. Unfortunately, it's not. 12 says, for now we see through a glass darkly, but then face to face. Now I know in part, but then shall I know even as also I am known. When he says, for now we see through a glass darkly. I like sunglasses. Who likes sunglasses? We got a 75-80%. All right, cool, rock on. They're cool looking. They add accessory to our wardrobe, and they protect our eyes. But when I'm driving and I got my sunglasses on, do you know what's interesting? I have to go like this to see my speedometer sometimes, or to see the clock on my radio sometimes, or to get a better perspective of what I'm looking at, because those dark sunglasses restrict my vision, hide details that I need to see. Your life could be filled with sunglasses and you don't even know it. But to wrap up this sermon, I would love to talk about all the love aspects over here, but I swear to you I'd keep you 3 hours. And I won't punish you like that. But I hope that when you have time, you will come back to this chapter and you will understand what love is, because that love will be the gauge of if you pass or if you fail. Did you get an F? Did you get a D?